Imagine discovering a forgotten shipwreck filled with royal gold, or uncovering a secret chamber hiding one of history's most valuable works of art. Across oceans, islands, forests, and ancient cities, enormous fortunes have disappeared without a trace. Some are supported by historical records. Others survive mainly through legends. But none of them has been fully explained. Welcome to Peak Selects. Today, we're counting down 10 legendary lost treasures that may still be waiting to be discovered. Number 10. The Treasure of the Flor de la Mar. In 1511, the Portuguese ship Flor de la Mar left the recently conquered city of Malacca, carrying wealth taken during the Portuguese campaign. Historical accounts describe the vessel as heavily loaded with valuable cargo, potentially including gold, precious stones, royal objects, and other treasures connected to the Sultan of Malacca. But the ship was already in poor condition. While sailing through the Strait of Malacca, it was struck by a violent storm and wrecked near the coast of Sumatra. Many people aboard were killed, and much of the cargo disappeared beneath the water. Despite centuries of searching, no wreck conclusively identified as the Flor de la Mar has been found. The region's powerful currents, shifting seabed, and disputed historical descriptions make the search extremely difficult. Malaysia, Indonesia, and Portugal could also make competing ownership claims if the wreck were ever discovered. Whether the treasure survived the sinking is unknown. But somewhere beneath the Strait of Malacca, the remains of one of history's most famous lost ships may still exist. Number 9. The Nazi Gold Train. As the Second World War approached its final months, Nazi Germany attempted to move or hide stolen valuables before Soviet forces reached German-controlled territory. This historical reality eventually gave rise to the legend of the Nazi Gold Train. According to the story, an armored German train carrying gold, artwork, jewelry, military equipment, and possibly stolen property disappeared near the Polish city of Wałbrzych in 1945. Some believe the train was hidden inside a tunnel connected to the massive underground construction network known as Project Rees. In 2015, two treasure hunters claimed that ground-penetrating radar had revealed a buried train. The announcement created worldwide attention, but scientific surveys found no convincing evidence of a train at the proposed location. New claims and searches have continued, yet no gold train has been confirmed. The story remains plausible enough to attract explorers because the Nazis genuinely built tunnels throughout the region and frequently moved stolen property. But until physical evidence is recovered, the Nazi gold train remains a legend rather than a proven historical treasure. Number 8. The Treasure of Lima. The Treasure of Lima is said to have disappeared during the struggle for Peruvian independence in the early 19th century. According to the legend, Spanish officials feared that Lima would fall to revolutionary forces. They supposedly placed the city's most valuable religious objects, jewels, gold, and silver aboard a ship for transportation to safety. The ship was reportedly commanded by Captain William Thompson, but instead of delivering the cargo, Thompson and his crew allegedly killed the guards, took control of the treasure, and sailed toward Cocos Island, located off the coast of Costa Rica. There, they supposedly buried the fortune before being captured. For more than a century, treasure hunters searched Cocos Island. One explorer, August Gisler, even lived there for years and excavated numerous locations. He reportedly found only a small number of coins. There is still no solid proof that the enormous treasure described in later versions of the story ever existed. Costa Rican authorities no longer permit treasure hunting on the island, which is now protected for its environmental importance. The Treasure of Lima may be buried somewhere on Cocos Island, or the entire story may be a combination of several older pirate legends. Number 7. The Oak Island Treasure. Oak Island is a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. Yet it has inspired one of the longest-running treasure hunts in history. The mystery reportedly began in 1795, when a teenager named Daniel McGuinness discovered a strange depression in the ground. McGuinness and his companions began digging. According to later accounts, they found layers of logs at regular intervals, suggesting that someone had deliberately constructed a deep shaft. The location became known as the Money Pit. Over the following 2 centuries, treasure hunters drilled shafts, built dams, pumped out water, and spent enormous amounts of money attempting to reach whatever might be underground. Theories about the supposed treasure include pirate gold, French royal jewels, lost manuscripts, religious artifacts, and property connected to the Knights Templar. Various coins, tools, pieces of metal, and other historical objects have been found on Oak Island. However, none has proved that a massive treasure was buried in the Money Pit. The island may contain the remains of old industrial or maritime activity rather than a hidden fortune. But after more than 200 years of searching, the mystery has still not been conclusively resolved. Number 6. The Missing Imperial Fabergé Eggs. Beginning in 1885, the Russian imperial family commissioned Peter Carl Fabergé's workshop to create elaborate jeweled Easter eggs. These were not ordinary decorative objects. The eggs were constructed using gold, enamel, diamonds, pearls, and other valuable materials. Many also contain mechanical surprises, miniature portraits, royal carriages, or tiny replicas of imperial monuments. Fabergé produced 50 imperial Easter eggs for the Romanov family between 1885 and 1916. Following the Russian Revolution, the imperial collections were seized, moved, sold, or dispersed. Several eggs eventually entered museums and private collections around the world, while others disappeared. The possibility of rediscovering one is not purely theoretical. In 2014, an American scrap metal dealer learned that an object he had purchased at a market was actually the long-lost third imperial egg. He had reportedly considered melting it down before discovering its true identity. Several imperial eggs remain unaccounted for. They may have been destroyed, privately hidden, incorrectly identified, or stored in collections whose owners do not understand what they possess. A missing imperial Fabergé egg could still be sitting inside an attic, cabinet, or private vault. Number 5. King John's Lost Treasure. In October 1216, King John of England was travelling through eastern England during the First Barons' War. Part of his baggage convoy attempted to cross an area near the Wash, a dangerous tidal estuary surrounded by marshland. According to traditional accounts, the tide arrived faster than expected. Wagons carrying royal property became trapped in the mud and were swept away. The lost cargo may have included gold, silver, royal documents, military equipment, religious objects, and pieces of the English crown jewels. King John died only days later, leaving the location of the supposed treasure uncertain. The landscape of the Wash has changed dramatically over the last 8 centuries. Rivers have shifted, coastlines have moved, and layers of mud have accumulated across the region. Some historians question how much royal treasure was actually lost. Objects used at the coronation of John's son, Henry III, suggest that not every important piece of royal regalia disappeared. Still, contemporary accounts indicate that a serious disaster affected the king's baggage convoy. If valuable objects were lost, they could remain buried beneath farmland, marshes, or sediment somewhere near the Wash. Number 4. The Amber Room. The Amber Room was one of Europe's most extraordinary artistic creations. Its walls were covered with panels made from amber, gold leaf, mirrors, mosaics, and precious materials. Originally created in Prussia, the room was given to Russian Tsar Peter the Great in the 18th century and was eventually installed inside the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg. During Nazi Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, German forces dismantled the Amber Room and transported its panels to Königsberg, which is now Kaliningrad. The room was displayed there before disappearing during the final stages of the war. Some historians believe the panels were destroyed during bombing or fighting. Others suggest they were hidden inside a mine, bunker, castle, ship, or underground storage facility. One original mosaic from the room resurfaced in Germany decades later, proving that at least some components survived the war for a period of time. A reconstruction of the Amber Room was completed at the Catherine Palace in 2003. But the fate of the original panels remains unknown. They may have been destroyed in 1945. Or crates containing part of the original Amber Room may still be hidden somewhere in Central or Eastern Europe. Number 3. Montezuma's Lost Treasure. When Hernán Cortés and his forces entered the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan in 1519, they encountered a society possessing extraordinary quantities of gold, jewelry, ceremonial objects, and detailed works of art. The Spaniards captured Emperor Moctezuma II and collected valuable objects from the city. In 1520, the population of Tenochtitlan rebelled. Cortés and his forces attempted to escape during the event remembered as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. Many Spanish soldiers loaded themselves with gold as they fled. During the chaotic escape across the city's causeways, numerous soldiers were killed or drowned, and a significant quantity of treasure was lost. This event later inspired stories claiming that surviving Aztecs recovered and hid the remaining wealth. Legends have placed Montezuma's treasure in caves, lakes, ancient ruins, and even locations in the southwestern United States. However, there is no reliable evidence that a giant Aztec treasure was transported north into what is now the United States. In 1981, construction workers in Mexico City discovered a large gold bar along the route used by the escaping Spaniards. Later analysis connected it to the period of the conquest. That discovery supports the idea that at least some of the lost gold remained in or around Tenochtitlan, beneath modern Mexico City. Number 2. Captain Kidd's Lost Treasure. Captain William Kidd began his career as a privateer authorized to attack enemy ships and capture pirates. But after seizing the valuable ship Quetta Merchant in 1698, Kidd was accused of piracy. Realizing that he was in danger, Kidd sailed toward New York and attempted to use part of his treasure as leverage with the authorities. Unlike many pirate legends, Kidd did bury a quantity of property. Goods hidden near Gardiner's Island were located and recovered by colonial officials. However, Kidd claimed that additional wealth existed elsewhere. After his arrest, he was transported to England, tried, and executed in 1701. Stories quickly spread that he had hidden a much larger fortune before being captured. Since then, supposed locations for kids' treasure have appeared across the eastern coast of North America, the Caribbean, and the Indian Ocean. In 2015, explorers announced that they had recovered a silver bar near Madagascar and connected it to kids' ship. UNESCO investigators later concluded that the object was mostly lead and that the site did not support the original treasure claim. Kids' documented treasure was largely recovered, so the legendary missing fortune may never have existed. Still, his travels covered an enormous area, and not every part of his captured cargo was clearly accounted for. Number 1. The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is unlike any other treasure on this list. According to the Hebrew Bible, it was a sacred chest created by the Israelites to hold the tablets associated with the Ten Commandments. The Ark was described as being covered in gold and topped by 2 cherubim. It was eventually placed inside the first temple in Jerusalem. Then it disappeared from the historical and biblical narrative. When Babylonian forces captured Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple in the 6th century BCE, records described numerous objects taken from the city. But the Ark was not clearly identified among them. This created centuries of speculation. Some traditions claim that priests hid it beneath Jerusalem before the Babylonian attack. Others place it in Jordan, Egypt, or Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church maintains that the Ark is kept in the city of Axum, although the claimed object is not available for independent examination. Archaeologists have never discovered an artifact that can be conclusively identified as the Ark of the Covenant. It is also impossible to determine whether the object described in the biblical text survived antiquity. If it still exists, its historical, religious, and archaeological significance would be almost impossible to measure. But after more than 2,000 years, the Ark's fate remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. From royal jewels buried beneath English marshes to shipwrecks filled with gold, these lost treasures continue to attract historians, archaeologists, and explorers. But not every treasure story should be accepted as fact. Some are supported by physical evidence, while others have grown through centuries of exaggeration and legend. Which of these treasures do you think could actually be found? Subscribe to Peak Selects for more unexplained mysteries, forgotten history, and extraordinary discoveries. Thanks for watching.